Hey, it's John here at Primal Woods, and be your biology as well. And this kind of goes to both ends. We're going to be making some sour pickles today. So, naturally fermented pickles are great for you. They also happen to be a natural appetite suppressant. Some people talk about drinking pickle juice. I don't go that far, but I do eat the pickles. And I think it has something to do with the tannins, and we'll get to that. But what have I got around me? Um, Kind of the go-to source for fermentation is a guy by the name of Sandor Katz. He went back to the land in the 70s. The difference between Sandor and most other people is he stayed there. So it's a great book, and this recipe comes from Sandor. So what have I got around me? Well, I've got some pickling sized cucumbers. Recipe calls for 3 to 4 pounds. Rinsed off, and you want to make sure that the blossom end, that you've scraped off the blossom end, the stem end. You can have a little stem on it, but you don't want the blossom end. I've got some dill. Recipe calls for 3 to 4 tablespoons of that, which I've already doled out. Black peppercorns, a pinch. I can guarantee you I put more than a pinch of black peppercorns in. Pickling salt, that's right here. And it's 3/8 of a cup. And so while we're talking, I'm just going to get that to dissolving. Now this is a half a gallon, and if you live in the city, you don't want to be getting this out of your tap. You're trying to avoid fluoride and chlorine, bromine, all the other chemicals that the municipality adds to your water supply to make it so-called safe. The chlorines and bromines and so on, these are antibiotics, and we're trying to grow antibiotics, or we're trying to grow biotics, so it doesn't make sense to have antibiotics in your water. Okay, so we want that salt to dissolve in the water, more or less. I'll shake it up before I put it in the pot. I think 3 to 4 heads of garlic is what the recipe calls for. And then these are oak leaves that I just got off a tree down by the lake. You can also use grape leaves. If you don't have either of those, you can use a couple of black tea bags, so not herbal tea, tea. These leaves, be they oak or grape or tea leaves, have tannins in them, and this keeps the pickle crisp. Otherwise, they'll just turn to mush, basically. So if you've ever had a really soft pickle, that's because there aren't enough tannins in the pickling process. So this will make some nice crisp pickles. So basically what we do is I don't think I missed anything. I did miss the pickling salt, so we use pickling salt. Don't use your iodized table salt. So basically all this stuff just goes in. This is a harsh fermenting pot, it's called. It's a 5-liter pot, and it has this moat around the edge, okay? And because what we're going for here is we want anaerobic, in other words, we want fermentation without air, without oxygen, anaerobic fermentation. Get my pinch of black peppercorns here. I don't know, that's a pinch, I guess. I think I'll double up on that. Okay, so that's the peppercorns. Then you just start putting pickles in. And I guess there's a method to my madness because I'm trying to get as many pickles as I can into the pot. So I kind of lay them in there neatly instead of just throwing them in to try to get as many in as I can. Once we have this all set up, the instructions say it'll take between a week and 4 weeks for these to ferment. You can taste test them along the way, which we do. Typically, I would say, and it has a lot to do with temperature, of course, but I would say typically we are looking at less than 10 days or 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks probably before these will be done. And so they're just sitting in the brine for that 2 weeks. And I'm getting close. I've got 4 cucumbers left, and the reason why I say I'm getting close is, remember I said anaerobic, and what'll happen is if you allow the pickles, for example, to be exposed to the air, you'll start getting mold from aerobic fermentation that's happening on the surface or above. So with the harsh fermenting pot, we have these 2 stones which basically go in and they hold the pickles below the surface of the water. And I think I've got about as many pickles in there as I can get in there. I might have to take a couple out actually. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get my second stone in. Yeah, I'm going to have to take out a pickle, I think. There we go. Okay, so looks like that when you're done. Okay, so I've got the grape leaves in there, the peppercorns, the garlic, and the cucumbers. Okay, and then my salt has nicely dissolved. My 3/8 of a cup in a half a gallon of water. And now I just pour this over the pickles. So we get the water, we're on a well, so I don't have to worry about the water being treated. And I don't quite have enough there, which means I'm going to get a little bit more out of our Berkey real quick. Alright, a little more water from the Berkey. Got the appropriate amount of salt in there. I'm trying to get the water above the stones. So I got plenty of water. The pickles are obviously below the stones. Okay, we're good. Okay. Now the next thing I talked about is I talked about this moat around the outer edge. And the idea is that as the fermentation process is going on, gases will be given off. And what the moat allows, it allows those gases to escape. And I'll show you how. So I fill the moat, at least an inch or so. That's enough. Then the lid is going to sit in that moat, and the lid has these little channels cut out of it. And you'll hear this thing burping as the gases form. The pressure inside will push its way out through here. But air from out here can't get in to create that aerobic fermentation, which I'm trying to avoid. Okay, so here we are. Again, we've got our peppercorns, we've got our oak leaves to keep the pickles crisp with tannins, got our pickling salt, peppercorns, dill I think I mentioned, the brine, which is basically salt water, and our 3 to 4 pounds of pickling cucumbers in here. That's it. That's all you have to do. Now you just have to be patient, wait somewhere between a week and 4 weeks depending on what temperature setting you have them in, tasting them along the way. After that, we put them in the fridge. When you put them in the fridge, that slows down or almost completely stops the fermentation process, so you're done. But a week to 10 days from now, when I take these out, I'll do a short video on how I get them in the fridge, because I don't just take them straight out of here and put them in the fridge. I dilute the brine slightly to bring the salt level down a little bit, just to my taste, and then I put them in a half-gallon jar, just like that, in the fridge. Literally, they'll stay in your fridge, nice. I've had them for up to a year, and I still ate them. No problem, very nice. Okay, all for today. That's sour pickles, courtesy of Sandor Cats, in your kitchen. Hope you have a great day.